Good morning, philosophers. Good to be with you again. Good to be alive another day. Let's continue. Euthyphro. Yes, by Zeus, Socrates, and if he should try to indict me, I think I would find his weak spots, and the talk in court would be about him rather than me. Socrates. It is because I realize this that I am eager to become your pupil, my dear friend. I know that other people, as well as this Meletus, do not even seem to notice you, whereas he sees me so sharply and clearly that he indicts me for ungodliness. So tell me now, by Zeus, what you just now maintained you clearly knew. What kind of thing do you say that godliness and ungodliness are, both as regards murder and other things? Or is the pious not the same and alike in every action, and the impious the opposite of all that is pious and like itself? And everything that is to be impious presents us with one form or appearance, insofar as it is impious. Euthyphro. Most certainly, Socrates. Socrates. Tell me then, what is the pious, and what the impious, do you say? A little morning coffee here. Euthyphro. I say that the pious is to do what I am doing now, to prosecute the wrongdoer, be it about murder or temple robbery or anything else, whether the wrongdoer is your father or your mother or anyone else. Not to prosecute is impious. And observe, Socrates, that I can cite powerful evidence that the law is so. I have already said to others that such actions are right, not to favor the ungodly, whoever they are. These people themselves believe that Zeus is the best and most just of the gods, yet they agree that he bound his father because he unjustly swallowed his sons, and that he in turn castrated his father for similar reasons. But they are angry with me because I am prosecuting my father for his wrongdoing. They contradict themselves in what they say about the gods and about me. Socrates. Indeed, Euthyphro, this is the reason why I am a defendant in the case, because I find it hard to accept things like that being said about the gods, and it is likely to be the reason why I shall be told I do wrong. Now, however, if you, who have full knowledge of such things, share their opinions, then we must agree with them too, it would seem. For what are we to say, we who agree that we ourselves have no knowledge of them? Tell me, by the God of friendship, do you really believe these things are true? Euthyphro. Yes, Socrates, and so are even more surprising things of which the majority has no knowledge. Socrates. And do you believe that there really is war among the gods, and terrible enmities and battles and other such things as are told by the poets and other sacred stories, such as are embroidered by good writers and by representations of which the robe of the goddess is adorned when it is carried up to the Acropolis? Are we to say these things are true, Euthyphro? Not only these, Socrates, but, as I was saying just now, I will, if you wish, relate many other things about the gods, which I know will amaze you. Socrates. I should not be surprised, but you will tell me these at leisure sometime. For now, try to tell me more clearly what I was asking just now, for, my friend, you did not teach me adequately when I asked you what the pious was. But you told me that what you are doing now in prosecuting your father for murder is pious. Euthyphro. And I told the truth, Socrates. Socrates. Perhaps you agree, however, that there are many other pious actions. There are. Bear in mind, then, that I did not bid you tell me one or two of the many pious actions, but that form itself that makes all pious actions pious. For you agreed that all impious actions are impious, and all pious actions pious, through one form. Or don't you remember? Euthyphro. I do. Socrates. Tell me, then, what this form itself is, so that I may look upon it, and using it as a model, say that any action of yours or another's that is of that kind is pious. And if it is not that, it is not. Euthyphro: If that is how you want it, Socrates, that is how I will tell you. Socrates: That is what I want. Euthyphro: Well then, what is dear to the gods is pious. What is not is impious. Socrates: Splendid, Euthyphro. You have now answered in the way I wanted. Whether your answer is true, I do not know yet. But you will obviously show me that what you say is true. You can't help but love Socrates' style, and here it is. Oh man, it's so good. Just coming off with full confidence that he is ignorant and the other person is about to teach him something, and he just, just ask the greatest, ask questions. I love it. Euthyphro: Certainly. Socrates: Come then, let us examine what we mean. An action or a man dear to the gods is pious, but an action or a man hated by the gods is impious. They are not the same, but quite opposite. The pious and the impious, is that not so? It is indeed. And that seems to be a good statement? I think so, Socrates. We have also stated that the gods are in a state of discord, that they are at odds with each other, Euthyphro, and that they are at enmity with each other. Has that too been said? It has. What are the subjects of difference that cause hatred and anger? Let us look at it this way. If you and I were to differ about numbers as to which is the greater, would this difference make us enemies and angry with each other? Or would we proceed to count and soon resolve our difference about this? We would certainly do so. Socrates: Again, if we differed about the larger and the smaller, we would turn to measurement and soon cease to differ. Euthyphro: That is so. Socrates: And about the heavier and the lighter, we would resort to weighing and be reconciled. Of course. What subject of difference would make us angry and hostile to each other if we were unable to come to a decision? Perhaps you do not have an answer ready, but examine as I tell you whether these subjects are the just and the unjust, the beautiful and the ugly, the good and the bad. Are these not the subjects of difference about which, when we are unable to come to a satisfactory decision, you and I and other men become hostile to each other whenever we do? Euthyphro: That is the difference, Socrates, about those subjects. Socrates: What about the gods, Euthyphro? If indeed they have differences, will it not be about these same subjects? It certainly must be so. Then, according to your argument, my good Euthyphro, different gods consider different things to be just, beautiful, ugly, good, and bad. For they would not be at odds with one another unless they differed about these subjects, would they? Euthyphro: You are right. Socrates: And they like what each of them considers beautiful, good, and just, and hate the opposite of these. Certainly. But you say that the same things are considered just by some gods and unjust by others, and as they dispute about these things, they are at odds and at war with each other. Is that not so? It is. The same things then are loved by the gods and hated by the gods, and would be both God-loved and God-hated. It seems likely. And the same things would be both pious and impious, according to this argument. Euthyphro: I'm afraid so. Socrates: So, you did not answer my question, you surprising man. I did not ask you what same thing is both pious and impious, and it appears that what is loved by the gods is also hated by them. So it is in no way surprising if your present action, namely punishing your father, may be pleasing to Zeus, but displeasing to Cronus and Uranus. Uranus, whatever. What's the Greek pronunciation of Uranus? Pleasing to Hephaestus. Man, too early. Too soon after waking up to read Greek. Pleasing to Hephaestus, but displeasing to Hera, and so with any other gods who differ from each other on this subject. Euthyphro: I think, Socrates, that on this subject no gods would differ from one another, that whoever has killed anyone unjustly should pay the penalty. Socrates: Well now, Euthyphro, have you ever heard any man maintaining that one who has killed or done anything else unjustly should not pay the penalty? Euthyphro: They never cease to dispute on this subject, both elsewhere and in the courts. For when they have committed many wrongs, they do and say anything to avoid the penalty. Socrates: Do they agree they have done wrong, Euthyphro, and in spite of so agreeing, do they nevertheless say they should not be punished? Euthyphro: No, they do not agree on that point. Socrates: So they do not say or do just anything, for they do not venture to say this, or dispute that they must not pay the penalty if they have done wrong. But I think they deny doing wrong. Is that not so? That is true. Then they do not dispute that the wrongdoer must be punished, but they may disagree as to who the wrongdoer is, what he did, and when. You are right. Do not the gods have the same experience, if indeed they are at odds with each other, about the just and the unjust, as your argument maintains? Some assert that they wrong one another, while others deny it. But no one among gods or men ventures to say that the wrongdoer must not be punished. Euthyphro: Yes, that is true, Socrates, as to the main point. Socrates: And those who disagree, whether men or gods, dispute about each action, if indeed the gods disagree. Some say it is done justly, others unjustly. Is that not so? Euthyphro: Yes, indeed. Socrates: Come now, my dear Euthyphro, tell me too, that I may become wiser, what proof you have that all the gods consider that man to have been killed unjustly who became a murderer while in your service, was bound by the master of his victim, and died in his bonds before the one who bound him found out from the seers what was to be done with him, and that it is right for a son to denounce and to prosecute his father on behalf of such a man. Come, try to show me a clear sign that all the gods definitely believe this action to be right. If you can give me adequate proof of this, I shall never cease to extol your wisdom. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. The questioning style. Definitely something to learn from in debates. Euthyphro: This is perhaps no light task, Socrates, though I could show you very clearly. Socrates: I understand that you think me more dull-witted than the jury, as you will obviously show them that these actions were unjust and that all gods hate such actions. Euthyphro: I will show it to them clearly, Socrates, if only they will listen to me. Socrates: They will listen if they think you show them well, but this thought came to me as you were speaking, and I'm examining it, saying to myself, if Euthyphro shows me conclusively that all the gods consider such a death unjust, to what greater extent have I learned from him the nature of piety and impiety? This action would then, it seems, be hated by the gods, but the pious and the impious were not thereby now defined. For what is hated by the gods has also been shown to be loved by them. So I will not insist on this point. Let us assume, if you wish, that all the gods consider this unjust, and that they all hate it. However, is the correction we are making in our discussion that what all the gods hate is impious, and what they all love is pious, and that what some gods love and others hate is neither or both? Is that how you now wish us to define piety and impiety? Euthyphro: What prevents us from doing so, Socrates? Socrates: For my part, nothing, Euthyphro, but you look whether on your part this proposal will enable you to teach me most easily what you promised. Euthyphro: I would certainly say that the pious is what all the gods love, and the opposite. What all the gods hate is the impious. Socrates: Then let us again examine whether that is a sound statement, or do we let it pass? And if one of us or someone else merely says that something is so, do we accept that it is so, or should we examine what the speaker means? Euthyphro: We must examine it, but I certainly think that this is now a fine statement. Socrates, we shall soon know better whether it is. Consider this. Is the pious being loved by the gods because it is pious? Or is it pious because it is being loved by the gods? Euthyphro, I don't know what you mean, Socrates. Socrates, I shall try to explain more clearly. We speak of something carried and something carrying, of something led and something leading, of something seen and something seeing, and you understand that these things are all different from one another, and how they differ? And we will pick back up there tomorrow. The thought that I'm keeping front and center in my head today, the hippies would probably say it will be my intention for the day, is to consider a saying that I came across yesterday. A way to think about each day in the beginning, and a way to evaluate how your day went in the evening. And it is definitely something I'm going to use more often. I am about to spend one of my remaining days. At the end of the day, well, first question is, how can I spend this remaining day today in a way I will be happy and fulfilled and content and proud of? And at the end of the day, I'm going to ask myself, did I do that? Did I spend this one of my remaining days doing something that I think is important and that I am proud of and would do again? That's what's going to be on my mind today. Guys, until next time.